Welcome to The Explainer. Have you ever felt like your curiosity is pulling you in a million different directions at once? Well, what if that's not a weakness? Today, we're building a step-by-step blueprint to turn that scattered interest into your single greatest strength. So, let's just start with a question that honestly probably keeps a lot of us up at night. In a world that's changing so fast, what happens if the one thing you're an expert in just isn't needed anymore? This isn't just a thought exercise. It's about building a future-proof version of yourself.
So here's our game plan. We're going to move through 6 key stages, step by step. We'll start with the why, then break down the mental blocks, install a new mindset, design a strategy, build a learning machine, and finally turn all that knowledge into real-world action.
All right, first up, let's really get to the heart of why this matters so much right now. Being a polymath isn't some quirky hobby for geniuses anymore. It's become a fundamental survival skill for pretty much everyone. You know, if you feel like you've got way too many interests and no clear path forward, the insight here is that you're not the problem. You're not confused. The real issue is that nobody ever taught you how to build a system for your curiosity. And this is such a critical distinction. The modern polymath isn't trying to be a walking encyclopedia. They're not just collecting facts. They are connecting ideas from totally different fields to build things, solve problems, and create something new. This really drives the point home. See, back in the day, information was rare, so the name of the game was to collect as much as you could. But today, information is everywhere. It's infinite. The real skill isn't finding it. It's connecting it in useful ways.
Okay, so before we can start building, we've got to do a little demolition. We need to break apart some of these invisible chains, these myths that make this whole polymath thing seem completely impossible. And here's the big one. This is the myth that stops most people dead in their tracks before they even start. It's this idea that you have to have some kind of super genius level IQ to even attempt this.
But the reality is, that's just not true. This is a game of discipline. It's a game of structured, intentional curiosity. With a consistent system, you can get extraordinary results no matter what your starting IQ is. Okay, here's the other big fear, right? If I chase after all these different things, I'll just end up being a master of none. I'll be distracted and unfocused. But see, that's a total misunderstanding of how this works. It's not about random, chaotic curiosity. A polymath doesn't sacrifice focus. They learn how to rotate it. They go incredibly deep on one thing at a time, but always within a bigger, long-term vision. All right, with those myths busted, it's time for an upgrade. Let's install the internal operating system, the core mindset that really powers this entire journey. Think of this as a software update for your brain. And listen, these aren't just fluffy motivational quotes. These are practical shifts in how you think. For example, when you start seeing failure as just data, not as a reflection of who you are, suddenly you're free to experiment and learn so much faster. This comparison is everything. It's the shift from being a passive consumer, just clicking on whatever looks interesting, to being an active architect of your knowledge. You stop chasing every shiny new object, and you start asking, how does this piece fit into the larger thing I'm trying to build? So once that mindset is installed, we can start designing the actual architecture. This is all about being strategic. You can't learn everything, so you have to be smart about what skills you choose to build. The goal here is to be a skill architect, not a skill collector. You have to be almost ruthless in your selection process. Don't just pick skills because they seem cool. Pick them because they give you leverage, because they transfer to different situations, and because their value will compound over time. Okay, we've got the mindset, we've got the blueprint, now we need the engine. We need a practical, reliable system for actually learning things quickly and deeply. This is where the strategy turns into daily action. This is called the learning stack, and it works because knowledge is layered systematically. And notice something really important here. Just passively reading or watching something? It's not even on the list. This is an active process, from understanding a core idea all the way to being able to teach it. And mental models like this are the secret weapons in a polymath's toolkit. They aren't some complicated academic theories. They're just simple frameworks, simple ways of thinking that let you see the hidden connections that other people miss. And here you can see just how powerful that is. First-order thinking just asks, what's the immediate result? It chases short-term pleasure. But second-order thinking asks, and then what? It builds long-term success. It's a total game changer for making decisions. And finally, we bring it all together. Because let's be honest, all the knowledge in the world is basically useless until you actually apply it, until you use it to create something valuable in the real world. This is the core of it all. This is your unfair advantage. Lots of people have skills. Being good at one thing is common, but being able to integrate different skills to combine, say, writing with data analysis or design with marketing, that is incredibly rare. And that rarity is where your true power lies. This is such a huge mental shift. Most of us think we have to learn and learn and learn, and then one day we'll be ready to do a project. That's completely backward. You learn by doing the project. The project isn't the final exam. It is the classroom.
So look, this whole blueprint, it isn't just a cool theory. It's a call to action. It's a system for building a more capable, more resilient, and more creative you. So we'll leave you with one final thought to get you started on this journey. What will you build first?